back. So again, I'm on multiple platforms. I don't know where I need to look. So let's see what your questions are, and I will try to address them. In the meantime, today we are going to talk about the most popular temporary visas, work visas to the United States. Now, that doesn't mean there are no other visas available, but these are the most popular. So I'm going to go over them a little bit. And in the meantime, if you have any questions whatsoever, it doesn't have to be about the topic here. Then yes, please put them in the chat and I will address them. So somebody's asking, can I marriage B1 visa? If you are in the United States on a valid B1 visa, yes, theoretically you can get married. The issue is, are you marrying a US citizen or a permanent resident? That may make a difference in how long you can stay in the United States to complete the process. So give us a call if you'd like more information on that. So let's go over most popular US work visas. There are many. Okay, so we are going to address temporary options and permanent options. On the temporary options, those are visas that allow you to come to work in the United States for a particular employer for a limited period of time. And at the end of that period of time, you need to go back to your country, or you need to find another way to remain in the United States. There are plenty. You name it, they have it. You are a truck driver, you can probably get a work visa if you find a sponsor willing to go through the process. And that's another issue because the process takes forever and it's very expensive to the employer. So first, temporary options, okay? Temporary options, the most common, E2 investor or trader. If you're coming from a country with which we have a treaty in place. The second is L1 visa. If you are a manager or executive or an employee with specialized knowledge for an employer outside the United States who wants to open an office or a subsidiary or affiliate in the United States. And then you have the typical H1B that everybody knows about, and we're going to get into those in a minute. And then you have religious visas for religious workers, outstanding researchers and professors, professional athletes, models, whatever you name it, okay? There are options available. Not for everyone. The options are obviously more and more available the higher your education, but not always. There are work visa options such as H2B available for seasonal or temporary workers. However, most options, most of them, including the H1B and the L, require that you have an employer already ready to petition for you. So let's talk about the non-immigrant options first, and then we are going to address the immigrant options, okay? So the difference is temporary for a short period of time, then you need to go back. And if it's permanent visa, then it's like getting a green card, permanent residency. You get to stay in the United States, and then you become a US citizen. So before I move on, I have a question. What documents are required? That information is readily available on the government's website. However, I caution you, do not apply just thinking that it's all about filling out a form and attaching some documents, because it's not as easy as the government makes it seem, okay? And once you make a mistake or once there are delays, it is very, very difficult to fix those, okay? So again, let's talk about the first option, L1. What's an L1? It's an intra-company transfer for an executive or manager or an employee with specialized knowledge. So that applies for companies who are already established abroad and who want to open a subsidiary or affiliate in the United States. So they want to open a branch office, they want to open another location, and then they want to bring someone here, the executive or someone with specialized knowledge here. Now, that is under employer to prove. On the employee side, we need to show that that employee has been on payroll, getting paid on payroll on a regular basis for at least 1 year out of the most recent 3 years. There is obviously a cost associated with applying for that visa. There is you're opening a subsidiary, so you're opening a new location that involves costs. And you need to show that you can sustain both businesses outside the United States and in the United States. So you cannot come to the United States, get the visa, and close the company outside, because then you no longer have the relationship, so the visa is going to be canceled. Makan is asking me on, not on TikTok, on YouTube, how long does it take to process a motion to reopen with BIA? As long as they want. Unfortunately, you can check the BIA processing times on their website, and it's only a guideline. They don't have to abide by those processes, okay? If you did, depending on the type of motion you did the 290B, it really depends on where exactly is it going to be processed, okay? We can help you with that. If you already have that and you have the receipt, then we can probably try to obtain a little bit of status for you, okay? It really depends. And it depends on what exactly you are appealing, okay? So intra-company transferee, the best option for that is when the employee comes to work in the United States in a very similar capacity. You cannot have somebody who's a machinist abroad come and be here the executive, or an executive abroad coming here to do accounts payable, because that's just not going to work. And that's not a concern. The main issue there is the duration of the visa. It is limited to about 7 years maximum, but it's a dual intent. That means if the business grows enough and you can show that you can continue growing the business, you can apply for your own green card. So that is a very good option. Second best option is an E2 visa for foreign investors. However, those investors must come from a country with which the United States already has a trade treaty. Some of those treaties are 200 years old. Some of them are very recent, only written and signed in the past few years. So we just need to make sure that first we have a treaty. For example, let's say you are from a European country, you're from Canada, you are from the UK, Switzerland. We do have a treaty. Let's say you're from Venezuela and you do have the money to invest in the United States. You are not qualified directly for an E2 visa because we do not have a treaty with Venezuela. And that's just an example. However, if you are a Venezuelan citizen who also has a second citizenship, such as Italian or Spanish, we have a treaty with Italy and Spain, so you can try to get it through those. So there are always other options. Just because you don't have a treaty doesn't mean it's not doable. You have to show that you are investing in the United States before you're even applying for the visa. You have to spend the money. Or you have to show that the money has been put at risk, meaning you are taking a risk in this investment and because you are serious about it. So that's what the consular officer wants to see. So you need to show that the business is going to make money and it's going to make more money than is necessary for your family, and that you are going to create jobs. Remember, with U.S. immigration, you have to show that you are creating employment opportunities for U.S. workers. That doesn't mean U.S. citizen. It means U.S. workers, those authorized legally to work in the United States. All right, so that's everybody's question on the E2 visa is, well, how much money do I need to invest for an E2 visa? There is no straight answer. It really depends on the type of business. If you are opening a flower shop, it's going to be completely different than if you are opening a manufacturing plant. If you are opening the same flower shop in Miami versus top of the mountain in Tennessee, is going to be a different value. It's going to be a different dollar amount required for investment. And there are so many other different considerations there. Okay, let's talk about H-1B. This is a big one right now because we are approaching the registration period. H-1B is mostly a lottery. There is a very limited number for people with bachelor's degree. There is another set aside of 20,000 visas available for people who have U.S. advanced degrees, master's or higher. But the company needs to register and be willing to sponsor you pretty much between the first 3 weeks in March. And then if selected in the lottery, you go ahead and apply for the actual H-1B. And then in October, assuming you are approved, you start working. There are delays everywhere with all steps in the government. So that's not exactly pleasant, okay? You need to meet the educational requirement. There is a labor certification that needs to be filed with the Department of Labor, recruitment, and so on. It's valid for 3 years. You get an extension for up to 3 years, and then you have a catch-up period for whatever you didn't work, you were abroad, and so on. H-1B is an excellent option if you have an employer willing to petition for you. All right. Now, generally speaking, there are the temporary options. On the permanent side, we have options that lead to green cards. Remember, like I said, on L1, very similar to that, we have the EB1s, which are managers and executives. So your employer can choose to sponsor you directly for a green card, or after you have been on L1 as a specialized knowledge, perhaps they can sponsor you for an EB1 for executive and manager, or as a person with extraordinary ability in arts, sciences, business, and or athletics, okay? The process is a little bit different, but why I prefer that is because it enables you to get a green card. That is huge, okay? It enables you to get a green card, and if you're still here in the United States on valid status, you can pay extra for the premium processing, and you get a response in a few weeks. And if you are familiar at all with immigration, getting any immigration to do anything in less than a couple of years, it's a miracle. Okay, so that is a very good option. And again, your family can come with you. On almost all of these options, your family can come with you. In most options, not all, the US spouse gets a work permit or is able to go to school. Those are very good options. And sometimes if both of you are highly educated, one may continue to work and the other one can choose to do sponsorship for the green card. So when one is spending it, they're still having the status. On Instagram, someone is asking, how about E2? I would like to know about the E2. I just went over the E2 options, so let me go over it, not in a lot of detail because I already addressed it. So E2 is for those people who have the nationality, citizenship of a treaty country. So we need to make sure that first you come from a treaty country, that you are placing your investment at risk, you are opening the business, so you can acquire a business or open a brand new business, or you get the visa, your whole family gets the visa, and you can extend that forever and ever, assuming it is approved. Dollar amount for the E2 investment really varies by the type of business. That's pretty much on what it is on E2. There is, I'm not even sure if now, right now, there is premium processing available for E2. I think there is for the first portion, but not for the visa stamping. And if it's important for you to travel back and forth to the United States or from the United States, then you don't want to apply in the United States, but at the consulate. And that's where the biggest delays are right now. Strategy on an E2 is key. You need to know exactly what the processing times are, understanding that they may change, understanding their requirements might change while you are in the process. And you need to know how does that fit with you maintaining or keeping your status while that's taking place. You might get a request for evidence, but that might not come for about a year and a half. Can you maintain it in the meantime? What else are you filing to make sure that you are in status or in a period of authorized stay in the United States? So strategy is key on E2. E2s are significantly easier to get approved than an L1 because at the end of E2, you're not getting a green card. You have to find other options to get your green card. Okay, so hopefully that addressed your E2 question. Now, green card options. Second one is EB2 NIW, which is EB2 National Interest Waiver. And those are available for people who can show that they're going to start or continue work of national importance to the United States. And because they are going to do that, they are asking the government to waive, hence the word waiver, because it's in the country's national interest to do so, the requirement of filing for a labor petition. Basically, you're not asking, the Department of Labor will not ask you to test the labor market in the United States or to show that there are no qualified US workers willing and able to do the job. So if you guys have additional questions, please put the questions in. I'll address them. I'm not going to go over perm labor certifications. Those take forever these days. It's almost 3 years. They're very good options. Those are very good if you find an employer who can sponsor you for a green card, but it's willing to go to 2 to 3 years of that processing. So if you guys have additional questions that are not necessarily related to work visas, but other general immigration questions, put it in the chat and I'll be more than happy to address them. I'm sorry, sometimes the response really is, it depends. Okay. Ila wants to know, how long should I stay on F1 visa? F1 visa is granted to you for the period of time that your studies take place. If you have a visa to go to college, until the college is over. If you want to continue to a master's degree, you can continue doing that. You just need to extend it, and you need to fill out the proper forms, the I-20s, and get them done. You can stay on F1 for a long time. We have one client that's been on F1, started with English school, then he got really, really good at English, then it went to college. He is enrolled right now in a master's degree, so he's been on F1 for quite a long time. Now, if you're asking that question because you are looking to find a way to remain in the United States, then how long you can stay while that process is pending, it depends on the type of process that you're applying for, okay? So I would need to have a little bit more information on that. Are you looking to marry a US citizen or a permanent resident? Are you looking to get an employer to sponsor you? If you are telling me more, maybe I can give you more information. B1, B2, multiple entry. How long can you stay in the US and can you apply for a green card? Well, B1, B2, it's a tourist visa. B1, it's tourist for business, and B2 is tourist for pleasure. How long can you stay in the US? Until the purpose of your trip has exhausted. So if you're coming on a B1 and you have only a couple of business meetings, theoretically, as soon as those business meetings are over, you should leave the United States. If you're coming here as a tourist and you have 4 trips planned, you're arriving in Miami, you are going to Orlando, to Disney, you are going to Vegas, you want to see New York, Chicago. If that takes you 2-3 months, you can stay 3 months. The maximum amount of time is whatever the government gave you on your I-94 when you entered the United States. That is the maximum amount of time that you can stay in one particular trip. Now, the longer you stay in the United States, the longer you need to stay outside the United States, because otherwise you are raising flags when you come back in to the United States, and they are going to assume you're either working in the United States without authorization, and that's worse because they can stop you, and then you have a 5-year bar from coming back to the United States. There are many reasons for that. To make sure you need to, if you want to know exactly how long you can stay, you can book a consultation, and we'll be more than happy to look over your passport, your I-94, and properly advise you based on your goals. All right. Hope that was useful. Let's see. Oh, Ilya's back. My husband is on F2 and he got EB3, his I-140 approved. If they are fully approved, okay, here is the thing. The one thing you're not telling me, it says EB was approved, I-140, 765, and 131. 765 and 131s are only approved if you have a 485 pending. Is your 485 pending? If your 485 is pending, honestly, I would stay on that F1 for as long as it takes until you get the green card. Then you are still in status. Maintain that. Perfect. You're on 485 pending. Wait for that to be granted. You have done everything right so far, both you and your husband. You have come with the proper visa. You filed the EB3, your employer filed it for you, and now you have the green card pending, work permit, travel permit. Stay on F1 for as long as it takes to stay on F1. Now, you have the 131 approved. Please tell me that you're not itching to go outside the United States to visit family. When you come back in, if they are approving you on the parole, you are no longer on valid F1. So you need to be extremely careful on how you manage the travel in and out of the United States. And frankly, I tell all my clients, even if you have the advanced parole document, the 131 approved, do not travel outside the United States until you get your green card approved. Okay, hopefully that was useful. Well, we can help you navigate the rest, but based on your questions and your process, I'm sure you have your own attorney. You should give them a call and ask. All right. By the way, guys, anything I tell you right now, it's very general in nature. I have no knowledge of your particular individual case. And what I'm telling you, it's simply based on your question. That is not to substitute for proper legal advice. Okay. All right, so I think we went over all the questions and we addressed the visa. So remember, L1 is for intra-company transfers, E1 is for trader visas, E2 is investor visas, H1B is qualified workers. Then we have unskilled, temporary, or seasonal workers for H2B. We have religious worker for an R, O&P for outstanding researchers and professors or professional athletes, professional performance, actors, models, and so on. So there are many options out there. And then on the green card side, we have EB1, EB2, EB3, EB5. So if you find an employer willing and able to petition for you, that is a very good option. And look, sometimes, yes, some of these cases take forever. Some of these cases take 3, 4, 5, 10 years and still are faster than most family options sometimes. Just because it takes that long, that does not mean you shouldn't apply. I just had a client who came to see me and they were lucky. Their employer filed a petition for them 6 years ago. Fast forward 6 years, they have not done anything else. There is nothing else. And that's the only option they have. And now it came to terms and now we can do something about it. All right. So don't discount those options just because they take forever. We also had somebody else who just came to see me earlier this week. And based on the fact that their brother filed a green card petition for them to sponsor them 21 years ago. They haven't done anything about it since. They've been coming back and forth traveling, but they have not stayed. 21 years later, they can now apply for their green cards. Would they have come sooner if they had another option? Yeah, but they didn't have another option. So when there are no other options, any option is better than none. Okay, so I don't see other questions. Thank you for your time. And today is Wednesday. I think I'm seeing you again tomorrow. I'm not sure when it's on my calendar. And I look forward to helping you again tomorrow. Bye now.